Hello, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That is Dan.
Yep.
And is it rude to introduce you as Portugal the Man, as you are only one of the many?
I suppose so. Portugal the Man was always meant to be a band. It was supposed to be like this singular person in the world, but it represents a group of people.
And that's the take on a country, right? Like,
Yeah.
A country is many people, Portugal, but yeah. Do you always want to make music with people that you appreciate? And but also beyond appreciate, but like can share success with?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's my whole thing making music. I love collaboration. I love being in the room with people who are really passionate about something. So that's what playing music is for me in general. Like going into these venues and just being around people who love music. I mean, how cool to be in a studio with people who just want to find that thing, find that sound. Like, what is the thing that you're searching for? I love being able to pass it off to somebody, to do my part and then hand it to somebody. It's way more fun to share it than sit in my room and say, like, this is mine. Nobody else touch it.
It is. Do you remember the first moment where you wanted to start that search to even make music to begin with?
I do, dude. Like, so we lived in Alaska. We lived in a really, really small town. So we lived in Knik. And we had a boombox, the 2 cassette boombox. And I used to sit, and I remember, I mean, this probably would have been high school or middle school, something like that. I would take songs I listened to and I would try to perfectly edit these songs. I would say like, oh, I don't like that one part of the song, and I would take it out, or I'd want to hear a part again. So I would be just rearranging songs, just copying tapes and making my own versions.
That's sick. So when you're doing that, are you realizing how to structure a song maybe differently, but also more effectively?
Yeah, oh, dude, it definitely helps you understand like why there's like a middle 8, why a middle 8 exists. I mean, it's there to like remove you from the song for a second, then hit you back over the head with that chorus or whatever it is. I mean, you learn pretty quickly when you're like, oh, I really like that chorus. Let me hear it 4 times in a row. And you go, oh, damn, that chorus is too much. Like I can't hear it that much without hearing the, those little inconsistencies. Like I love when I listen to music, I love that point where you hear somebody drop the drumstick in the track and it's still rolling, or the tambourine gets set down in the background, or the hook is slightly different this next time around.
Is there something to, maybe not a formula, but like, even when you're describing like the flow of a song and that moment of like kind of a break or release, there is something to like, because it's not go, 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 it allows you to listen to it more frequently or to tolerate it for longer periods of time. There's something there.
Yeah, definitely. So, one thing that I think was really interesting with, Feel It Still being our one song that broke through on this like greater level. It's really interesting for me watching people cover that song and sing along with that song, because you think the chorus is the same every single time around, but it's different each time. There's a little twist to the chorus each time it happens. And I think that's honestly what helped it succeed and have longevity was the fact that it wasn't the same every time. So every time you'd get to that part, you'd sing, I'm a rebel just for kicks, whatever you think the next line is. And it would be slightly different, and it makes you want to go back and go, oh, I got to hit that line. I got to get that part.
That's because that song breaks through in a way that I think for the alternative genre I hadn't seen in a long time, right? Because you're number one for like, is it 12 weeks or something?
I think it was longer.
It's crazy. I have it in my notes somewhere, but it was, I mean, in a way that like breaks mainstream culture, but also becomes a part of the everyday activity for so many people for such a long period of time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, I mean, it opened up a whole new world to this band. I mean, it was so, as like, I'm an introvert. Like, I'm squeezing a pillow right now. Oh my God, I'm in this room. It was really intense for us. But I mean, the greatest moments for me personally was seeing like little kids in car seats dancing and singing that song, and you'd be like, oh my God, like that is that feeling I had when I was a kid. You know, that's what you want to see. I want to see people enjoy music. I had never even known that I wanted that, you know. We always just made music for us and our friends. So when it broke through and it was in front of all these new people, it was just seeing people enjoy themselves and like cut loose. And it's at all these weddings, it's in commercials. And commercials, that's how I discovered so much music growing up, through movies and TV.
It really does have the ability to not only live on forever, but you don't, like, a song of that scale with that amount of reach has the ability to unlock so much in so many people, to the point where you can't even really measure it. You know, like, it's why it is wild. It's been with people for so long.
Yeah, I guess that type of song has always been the most interesting to me. Like those songs that Hey Ya is one of them, where it's like, yeah, this is no longer just hip hop. This is everything. Like you hear it at the hockey games, you hear it everywhere you go. Crazy is another one, and they all do that thing so well. Like, Hey Ya has this thing that is, to me, I obsess over structure. I obsess over like, how do you tell a story in 2 minutes? Like, how do you do this thing, like, and keep people interested? And in Hey Ya, like, I love the all right. To me, that is Ain't No Sunshine. I know. Or Crazy's Laugh. Just the ha ha ha, bless your soul. Like, I love these moments in those songs. They all have this thing that is just so infectious, and it's just, you don't even know how you got there. And it's, to me, it's letting things flow and just be really honest. And CeeLo's laughing in the studio, and that's great. You know, keep that on the track.
Do you feel like that is a timeless structure?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have a foundation called the PTM Foundation that it revolves around Indigenous visibility. It's representation. As we travel around, we do land acknowledgements everywhere we go, and other bands have come on board. Like Boy Genius is doing it right now, and that's just so rad. Having more artists, NoFX is doing it. Having these people come on to do this. In doing it, we do a thing called Pass the Mic, which is, it's whatever you want to do. Like, there's no structure, there's no rule to how you introduce yourself or what you do. Songs get sung for people quite a bit. So people come up on stage and they give you a song, and they give you like a blessing. And one thing that has always been there is that structure, that verse chorus structure. That's thousands of years of song. Like, that's how this works in us. I mean, if you look back to even just the beginnings of like modern music and folk music, I have these 3 chords. I have this chorus. You travel around. You travel from Missoula to Boise, and you pick up a verse along the way. You leave that song in that town, and you let them write their verse. I mean, that's what music is meant to be.
Do you feel like it still has those principles today?
It does. I think hip hop, honestly, like, totally embraces it better than anybody. I mean, it's so perfectly, like, where the dropping the drumstick thing may not be happening all the time, and the setting down the tambourine, or like the difference in the hook. It's all in rhythm and cadence. It is this free form, like, I'm gonna go triplet real quick and just be in and out, and there's double meaning, and there's so much depth to the storytelling in hip hop. But it still does that. It still comes back around and says, here's the chorus. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. You know.
Can you have, or are you seeing, as a student of music, right? Music is very different. It's the first time you put out an album in 6 years. You have 9 albums in total. A lot of bodies of work. It's different today, though, than, 2017, right? In the biggest ways.
Definitely. Dude, music, everything moves so quick right now. And I think he would have said, dude, I'm saying that, but like, I think it's always been that way. Like, it's not really like, we perceive it as moving really quick. I think if I was in high school right now, I'd be like, yeah, I like Nirvana this week, but next week it's going to be Metallica or whatever it is. Like, that's how we've always functioned. Like, we're always like searching for something. And I think that's just discovering yourself and being in that creative space. I'm more confident with who I am today. And I think that happens with age. You become like more comfortable in who you are. You're no longer like searching for that thing all the time.
Does success play a part in that confidence?
Success?
Yeah.
I mean, so this is a conversation all the time. Like, it's really easy to be comfortable with, we had that song, you know, like, shouldn't we just like sit around and chill out? And it's never been about that. Like, it's not about that song. I mean, even this new record is like, it's not chasing that. It's not like, that song didn't come about because you were looking for success. It came about because I was stepping out of the room and I was annoyed what was happening with what was happening in the studio. And I was going, I don't really want to mix this song right now. Like, I'm not really feeling this. I'm going to go in a side room and play this bass line that I kind of play to feel better and like chill out. And Asa Taccone heard it and recorded it. And I just think going to those spaces is never really about success. Dude, Rick Rubin, I'm sure there's some like little clip floating around right now in my feed and all of our feeds going, you don't go into a studio to write a hit. You know, you're never searching for success. You try to make good music.
Do you believe in the principle that songs come to you from even you leaving the studio and doing like I can make the case that there's some universe element to that whole fucking thing. And we've talked, you know, everybody from Chris Martin to RM of BTS will all make the case that like when a hit song is coming, it's like the universe, like it's like beaming down from a higher thing or something else is at play because you really can't. It's not that it's not logical, but like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're never writing. I mean, I think that's the best music is like you're never writing. I mean, okay, so being in the studio with like Black Thought. Like, so we've done that a few times, and I have to say it's the most incredible thing you've ever seen. Like, I've watched that dude freestyle, go like downtown. Like, we played with him downtown in Portland. Freestyle, go, hey, is the studio open? Go back to the studio and just deliver what he had just freestyled. Like that, he's not writing that. That's all stream of consciousness, and it comes out of nowhere. I mean, I think the best music does.
This album, Chris Black Changed My Life. How much of this body of work came from nowhere, but also came from somewhere very tangible and an actual human being?
Okay, so our buddy Chris Black is one of our good friends. He passed away in 2019. He was our everybody liked to call him our hype man, which I thought he's so much more than that. He was like our friend that was just so funny, and he knew how to handle attention. So I have a lot of anxiety. My friend Chris, none. Like, he loves being on stage. He loves attention. I wish he was here right now because he would love that the album is called Chris Black Changed My Life. Like, he would absolutely love that. He was just our friend that liked to have a good time. And he lifted this weight off of me. This like, I have so much anxiety on stage, and Chris would do these things where he would dab at the crowd, and the crowd would all dab back, and he'd be like, "That's your fans. That's your fan base. That's what they do." And we would all laugh about it, and it was just, he was so good at doing that. During the like everything being shut down after him passing, there was a hole there. You know, there was like this whole friend group. We had this really like super tight group of friends, and it just fractured. It was completely broken by Chris not being there. I would say I wasn't trying to write about Chris. I was honestly sitting down to write about my friends and like the people around me and the people that I see. And it wasn't until we started, like Jeff Basker and I started pulling things together, that we started to realize that like the story was just kind of presenting itself. And again, it's as it should. I mean, we always talk about like Imagine being like the best example of that stream of consciousness writing, where you're just going, imagine all the people. Well, it's easy if you try. Then you're on to the next. What if you imagine something else, and then you just let your brain like take you to these places, and you kind of pick up on what's around you. To me, it was all we could think about. Like we were always just talking about Chris. I got up for years, dude. Like I've still done it in the last few months. Like you pick up your phone to text Chris about like the funny thing that you just saw, and I think it's a really beautiful thing that you still have that habit after 4 years of him since he passed, and you still want to let Chris know because he's so his reaction to everything is just so great. And I just think about him in this world today, in seeing my daughter grow, seeing Francis grow up, and he's just such a fun dude. He like had to be a part of the record.
I mean, can you make the case that he kind of is the record? Like it is.
It's fully Chris. I mean, when we talk about it, it's Chris Black changed my life, and we all have somebody like that. We all have that like goofball in our circle of friends that makes us laugh. We all have that person who checks us when we cross the line. We all have that person that, Mr. Stearns in 6th grade wheeled out the TV and showed us Hanson Bop. I remember when he did it, because he wheels out that TV. He says, hey, you know what? We're not doing social studies today. We're not doing current events. I got to show you this band. This kid is younger than you. And he plays this video for us, and that changed my life. I mean, we all have those moments. And that's what I really wanted to talk about on this record, is people who changed our lives and who gave us direction. And I mean, that's the thing that I really want to see from folks, is like, I would have loved to say this stuff to Chris while he was here. I would love to see people talking about their friends and family, like who changed your life. Talk about it. I mean, go on your socials. I've seen people do it in our comments too, where they like at somebody like, yo, Jeff, like Jeff changed my life. And Jeff pops in and says, I had no idea I made an impact. Like, that's so cool.
That acknowledgement goes a long way. And Chris will live on in so many ways, and this is one of the ways. And even the conversations and it connecting other people and making them think and feel about it. I lost my best friend in February, and I struggle every day, like how to remember her properly and like keep her memory alive. It's really rough, it's a constant battle, but this is a beautiful way to pay tribute. It's timeless.
It is. And I'm sorry. It's hard. It's hard.
It is
losing
rough.
people around
Grief is
you.
crazy, dude.
Yeah. It's
up there,
but that's life. I think like, again, like she made an impact on you.
Oh.
And that's so cool. Like, how cool is it that we got to share this experience? There's nothing you can do to change it, but we got to share this time together. And I think that is the coolest thing that you can ever talk about and think about is, yeah, I may have lost that person, but I got a lot of time with them.
And it makes the most, and it means the most. Honestly, that is, and by the way, that's why you latch on to that. But it is, grief is like weather, man. Like, some days it's like a really beautiful day and it's the most beautiful memories, and other days it's like a fucking hurricane, and then other days it's just cloudy. Like every day is different, and it's different every day. But I relate to that feeling while it's talking to them and texting. It's crazy. But,
yeah, that's one of those, like, I do like set down my phone thinking, like, at first you go through all these emotions where you're like, yo, this is so funny, this is so cool. Then you're like, oh my God, he's not there. And then personally, I just laugh to myself that it's so funny that you're so rad that you're like not even around. And I'm still like, yo, what's up?
That's impact. Special.
Did Chris passing change the direction of the album, or is this the album you wanted to make the entire time?
It wasn't the record I was making. I mean, we were making a totally different album. I wasn't really thinking about this. It was. It all just started tying back to Chris. It was talking about things that were happening around us. I mean, that's always been this band. Like, this band is very like observation and like it's social issues, and we kind of look at all these things. And I realized I was writing about family and community, and again, it is just stream of consciousness. You just write as it comes to your head, and then it leads you to the next thing, and you go, oh, that's what I was talking about. It was that. It wasn't until we had finished, I mean, a ton of songs. We had like 28 songs, maybe like 40 that were close to finished. And Jeff Basker and I were sitting in Texas, and we were going through the album, and we started pulling things out. And there was a lot of music there. And it's usually way more difficult when you're trying to pick what songs are going to be it. But it was just really quick. Like, he and I sat there and we just went, that's not doing it. What is next in line? And we just kind of let it happen. And I think it made for a really interesting, listening back to it, going, wow, like it's funny how it feels like you lose something in the middle and then you're alone, and it builds, and then you get your friend back at the end, and it felt like a real story.
Does getting this thing out into the world help you manage what you've been going through and what everybody's been going through? Because, like you said, it was a glue that held so much together.
Do you want me to be super honest about like the creative process right now? Because yeah, Chris, of course, like talking about Chris, like it helps to get that out there. It's the scariest time for any artist when you hand in a record. It is like the most pain you've ever felt, because you just gave it away and you have no idea where it's going. You're like 6 months, 3 months, like if you're lucky, like, oh, maybe it's next week, like I don't know. It just kind of, like, the unknown is really difficult. Like that's where all that pain gets bottled back up, because you had just released it and then it gets shoved back in the bottle, and you're just like, oh my God, I want to explode.
Yeah, and it takes a new form. Like, it's anxiety, and it's...
Yeah, you get all of that back. Like, it all comes back to you, and it's magnified. And yeah, it's a massive, massive relief to get it out. And I mean, we have a thread where we talk about Chris, and it's just like all of Chris's friends, and we're all happy. Like, we're all like talking again, and that feels really, really special.
That's beautiful. That's like, it is for you, but when you turn it in, it becomes for everybody else. But it is really, I don't know, that's really beautiful though, that like it's rekindled a bond that like should stand the test of time.
Totally. That's what it's all about.
What are you thinking?
I just want to know quickly, what was it like when you guys got on stage for the first time to perform without Chris?
So Chris was so funny, like the way he toured with us. Like, you never knew what you were gonna get, which was like, that was part of the magic of Chris. And you know what had happened was, he was on tour with us. He actually didn't do the last couple tours that we had done. He had gotten pneumonia while we were on tour and never told any of us. And we didn't even know that until after like a tour or two that he hadn't been with us. I was trying to get him to come back out. I was like, yo, Chris, when are you going to come back out? And he's like, oh, I got some things going on at home. And one of his other buddies, one of our other friends goes, yo, you know he had pneumonia on that tour, right? And no, you had no idea. And again, this is Chris. This is that friend who's like, dude, if you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. Which is like, again, another really powerful thing about him. Like, that's what made him so great to be around. It's like, he didn't talk about anything. He'd just be like, yo, we're having fun tonight, and that's what really matters to me.
This album, by the way, you can listen to it. We're going to put a link in the description below. A record like Dummy, where does that really start?
I can tell you the ridiculous start of Dummy. So we were in the studio. We were working with Paul Williams, who, if you don't know Paul Williams, he is the greatest songwriter. He is my greatest songwriter of all time. He is a brilliant actor, musician, president of ASCAP, apparently. I didn't know when we first met him. But
Sick. Casual.
He was in the studio with us. He had come up to Portland, and we were working on this track. And our drummer comes in, and he never does this, but he came up to me, he gets in my ear and he goes, "Yo, Jay, I got a bass line for this song." And he gets in my ear and he starts going, duh, 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 and he's humming a bass line to me. And I'm like, I have never heard anybody hum a bass line that sounds like that. And he just kept doing it. I was like, yo, why don't you go in here and record that real quick? I didn't really react to it. I was like, that's cool. That's sick. Like, let's record that real quick. So we recorded that hook. That hook is him singing a bass line to me. So like it was just so ridiculous. I was like, that might be the craziest way you could hum out a bass line. And I held it for a while. So I have that. That's kind of like in that catalog. Like it's in there somewhere. And I started working on this song with Asa Taccone from Electric Guest. We're over at his house. We're working on this song that's like, it had this kind of like melancholy vibe to it, like mid-tempo. I mean, really kind of like upbeat chorus, but it was like, it's a heavier song. It's a very melancholy song. But we needed this thing to like counteract like all this, like it has kind of cartoonish vocals, cartoon imagery in the lyrics. And then this really like, it's 4 a.m. and I'm wide awake. It is like, yo, this is the world. Like if you look at your phone right now, you're scrolling your phone like you're up all night. And just the feelings in the world, everything felt so heavy. And I was writing this song and I was like, I need to counter this with something. So we pulled out that bass line hook that Jason had hummed me at one point. And it just fit so perfect to me. Just this idea of like, well, going through the world. Let's see what's next. It's kind of perfect for me.
What is it like hearing that song in the Taco Bell commercial? Because it was everywhere.
It's incredible. Like, I mean, so again, I grew up in the woods, man. Like we had the rabbit ears. We try to get like one channel, maybe we get channel 5, and the music that I discovered through commercials,
crazy.
Like that meant so much to me. Music that I discovered through film. I mean, that's such an important thing. Like I remember seeing Pulp Fiction for the first time and being too young to watch Pulp Fiction. But my dad, as a music fan as well, like my mom and dad have introduced me to all the music I listen to. My dad comes in one day and he says, I know you probably shouldn't be watching this, but you should watch this movie. And had me watch Pulp Fiction, and just the way Tarantino, like, it just, the way the music was put to these scenes, the way it contrasted what was happening in those scenes. It meant so much to me. It was putting everything in a different context. It was going through that catalog of, like, all my music that I listened to growing up was pre-71, because that's when my dad moved to Alaska. So all of his music that he took out to these cabins was pre-71. So it started making me take like the Supremes and stuff and thinking about like what kind of crazy world could that exist in, and like what is the flip on that, which eventually feel it still becomes that, like that is like the Marvelettes. It's going, what do the Marvelettes sound like today? You know, what is like the tradition of storytelling and songwriting? Like, well, I interpolate this melody and I make my story, and now it's my story being told.
I mean, by the way, we can get into a whole interpolation conversation. I mean, there's like, it's like the whole thing is really fascinating because, I mean, even from a legal perspective, the whole thing is crazy. Can you make the case that like, yes, everything is, they say Shakespeare was even plagiarized, right? Like, inspiration is different than plagiarizing. And plagiarizing is not the right word, but are the records that make up this body of work derive sonically from other things?
Of course.
I mean, everything is. Really.
Everything is. I mean, a bigger question is, do you think the Marvelettes wrote Mr. Postman? Do you think the writers wrote it? No, I don't think. Do you think the Beatles wrote I Want to Hold Your Hand? No.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody wrote
somewhere.
anything. I don't think. And it's why it's so important. Ed Sheeran stepping up and fighting that case is so important for music. Like, yo, are you going to own everything? Can I get that call, dude. Like, I get those calls when we turn in records. I get the call that says, you know, those 3 chords have actually been played like that before on another song, and you go, on what? Like, what is it? Like, it's a Trojan music sampler from like wherever, and you'll be like, yo, like, I don't know what that is. You know, these things stand out to me too, so like that will come back to me at some point too. Somebody will be like digging through our catalog looking for the whatever you took from the Trojan music sampler. Well, we had to change it because it's on something else. It's such a ridiculous conversation. I mean, even like, so when we did it, it was fully knowing.
Mm.
And part of that conversation was, yeah, if you change one note, you can own that. That's yours. My thing is, I feel it is important to credit those folks. I think it's important to be transparent about this. Like, you know, nobody's original. Nobody's just like pulling this out of thin air. Like, all of that thing that's floating by you it's this collection of memories, and it's misremembering that thing that's kind of creeping in. I mean, that's what I love about songwriting is if I was going to write a Nirvana song today, it wouldn't be a Nirvana song. It would be like my memory of what Kurt Cobain sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what separates a lot of artists. I would say like a lot of like those like great artists have really bad memories. So they're just going, I have a feeling that it sounds like this. And then you're writing these like really massive Post Malone smash hits because it's perfectly remembering like the importance of the melody and the importance of that feeling that you got when you're listening to music, but it's misremembering the exact notes, and it becomes unique to you.
That's interesting. But that's taking in art and then letting it over time be inspired by it, right? Yeah. To that point, is like, how do you legislate that, or how do you put laws around that? How do you own that?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. Like when I look at it, like it gives me a headache, and at the same time, I find it fascinating. I'm like, this is so crazy that somebody exists out there behind the scenes that goes, wait, I've heard that before, and I heard it on this, and like the fact that eventually it'll be AI or whatever.
It probably is now.
That is really, really dangerous, because again, like, yo, Ed Sheeran wasn't listening to that song. Like, it's like, these are my feelings, my memories. There are 12 notes. I'm sorry if it crosses over, but if I know what it is, like, you will know.
With a song like Dummy being woven into the Taco Bell ecosystem, there is something there with your relationship with, I mean, one of my favorite brands of all time, but like, you've been a part of the Feed the Beat program forever. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions about you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I remember when Feel It Still hit, everybody thought like you were a new band with Feel It Still, but the reality is like you've been doing it since the dawn of time.
Yeah, essentially.
Is that insulting? I'm so sorry.
Though everybody jokes that Portugal the Man is a get-rich-slow scheme, which is pretty fitting of this group. Yeah, you know, dude, we jokingly made these, like, I liked Portugal the Man before they sold out shirts. And the question has come around. I watch it pop up on Reddit and all these places constantly. They're like, they sold out. Yo, if I could sell out, if I knew how to write that song every single day of my life, you would never see me again. I would never see your comments. I would never see any of it. I would live on a mountain wherever, and I would have a mansion. I'd have all these things. Like, you don't do that with intent. And it is through programs like Feed the Beat that we were even able to learn how to play music and continue making music. And so many of these bands, like, so back in the day when we first started, we pretty much exclusively toured with hardcore bands. Like, it was like, whoever wants to tour the most, it's hardcore bands. I mean, I'll just let you know, it's hardcore bands. Like, they tour the most, they play all ages venues. We wanted to play for everybody. We wanted to play every single show we could. And when that program came around, I remember it making such an impact on that scene, especially because there's vegan hardcore, straight edge hardcore, like they're all in there. And it was the one restaurant we could all eat at. And it was the one restaurant, like, first of all, that we could afford on like our $3 per diems. And they showed up with $5 gift cards, like, each. And we're just like, oh my God, like, I can get Mexican pizza. Like, I can get whatever I want. Like, you were living when you went to Taco Bell. And I personally really appreciate their appreciation for music and their understanding that, like, yo, these are kids really chasing their passion and really trying to just get themselves out there and do something fresh and be different. And they allowed us all to do that. And I think it's so sick when you see them put people like Turnstile in ads. You see them, like, man, make a bet on us back in 2013 with the Evil Friends. Like, we were in their commercials back then. And I have to say, like, every step of the way it's all about partnerships like that. It's all about, like, people taking risks and people, like, willing to step outside of that, like, the norm, like, outside of that box and say, yeah, there's more in this world. And I think there's way more in these, like, kids who are on stage, like, screaming at everybody.
It is, I mean, it's just so really special because that support, like, when you think about it, like, maybe at first glance it's like whatever, but the reality is, like, just getting you guys fed allowed you the opportunity to, I believe consistency is everything. Like, I've been doing this show for 16 years. Like, it took a long time before we struck anything. But if I didn't have the opportunity to get up every day and continue to swing, you know, I would have never eventually hit it, you know? And giving somebody the opportunity to stay fed and stay on the road allows for consistency to exist. And with that comes, I believe, like, mastering a craft and then eventually getting it fucking right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, I'm forever grateful. Like, it was, I'm just picturing right now, like, how funny it was, like, all of us walking into the Taco Bell and the haircuts, the spike belts, and it was a really funny scene to walk in and all feel, like, accepted somewhere. He's like, yo, that's what the music scene is supposed to be. Like, y'all are doing it outside of that world. That's cool as hell.
By the way, Taco Bell is one of the most beautiful melting pots of people. Like, when you go to, I go all the time, but, like, when you just see everybody there, everybody is different yet the same, and it's very accepting. I don't know, it's very much like the music scene.
Taco Bell is the music scene.
It's
wow. They are the skateboarders on the side, like, letting the kid come out and showing them how to kickflip and then cheering them on.
But it is, like, I keep thinking about how important it is for somebody to just get out there because you learn so much every performance. Even the shitty, every single one has a place in turning you into the artist that you are today.
Yeah, especially the shitty ones.
Yeah, probably more than the better ones. Yeah.
Those are my favorite moments. Like, when you have a moment like that on stage, like, when you fall down on stage, to me, it's the most relief I can ever feel in life because there's nowhere else to go. There's, like, well, I fell down. I forgot the lyrics. I guess we're having a pretty good show now. Like, there's nowhere else to go. Yeah, it like lifts that weight as soon as you trip on stage. Like, you're good. You're good. Everything is cool. That's the worst that can happen.
Is that the worst?
No.
I was gonna say.
No, I think I saw somebody fall off the stage, but you could break ankles. You could do a lot of things.
It could get really bad.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Daniel?
Was Kanye an inspiration on Times of Fantasy? Because I first heard that and I was like, kind of sounds like my beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy.
Dog, you know what? Jeff Basker is the influence on that, which fully is. So, like, I've wanted to work with Jeff Basker since 808s.
Oh,
Jeff Basker is the producer. I don't know how he's listed on there, but I definitely took notice when I heard that record for the first time. So Kanye West was always creative. Like, he was always, like, this great producer. Like, these are good songs. I remember seeing Through the Wire as, you know, I'm a kid in Alaska and I'm going, this is really interesting. Like this dude showing up and just doing it. Like it was. He's always been an exciting artist. 808s came around, and it's the shape of those chords, like that chordal like auto tune thing that's happening. That distorted auto tune is so interesting. That's Jeff Basker, and I'm gonna continue to put that out there for everybody, so everybody understands that. Yo, like so much of that stuff. Like when everybody talks about like creative genius, I think he's really, really, really like probably top tier when it comes to curation. Really good at putting the right people in the room. He took a risk on Jeff. Jeff is one of the biggest producers in the world now, and that's through Kanye recognizing like, yo, like what you are doing with autotune, like these chords that you play. Jeff is like the most, I mean, free flowing. Like he has this very linear way of playing. He's not thinking about what the song is going to be in the end. He's just going, I like how these notes go together. And that's what he's doing in Times of Fantasy. He's playing those synthesizers. And he and I remember sitting down to write that song. We had actually just learned about this pretty heavy diagnosis with my daughter, and we were at his place, and we had hit Grim Generation at halftime, and we hit play on this song, and it was at these oohs and ahs that are in Grim Generation, and it was this really eerie sound, and it was just halftime Grim Generation, and Jeff and I both at that moment we were like, what was that? There's something happening right there. There's a lot of emotion in the room because we're talking about Francis, and there's this like unknown. And Jeff pulls out the oohs and ahs, and we put it in, and halftime. Then Jeff sits down, he starts playing synth, just like letting it flow wherever it's gonna go. And this is like his specialty. So when you say Dark Twisted Fantasy, I think about how linear that record is. Like it's very like it's taking you somewhere. Every song, like the outro is like it's part of the song, but it's this, to me that's Jeff jamming. And it may be other people jamming at different points, but that's what happens when you're in the room with Jeff Basker. Jeff Basker like inspires this like, oh, you're making me think about this in a way I would never think to hear it. So he plays along with that. And then we pull out my lyrics, and it was, I have these other lyrics along this like heavy game kind of motif that has been threading itself throughout the album. And we pull out these lyrics, and we're talking about how temporary things are. And Jeff wrote that melody, and that's where he is really, really incredible. Like, yo, this dude, like, he may be one of the top producers. Like, hear him sing. Like, that dude can sing. And, I mean, he is just one of the most interesting people I've ever met in music. One of my... so few times, like, I mean, we always remain friends with everybody we work with. And there's always, like, this friendship. Like, Jeff is just... He's on this other plane. It's really, really incredible. But we also had Sean Leon was there that night, and you know, just by chance, we were hanging out. So he's worked with Kanye. Sean Leon hears the song and he says, "Can I try something on that?" And he's singing about loss, and he just starts singing about he had just lost his brother. And he's singing about that. Come back to me, come back to me. And I mean. Zoe and I are crying in the studio. So it was like a really, really emotional, heavy night. And I think it, for me at least, it's a really difficult song to listen to because I know all of the emotions that were in there that night. But that's where you hear a lot of that. Like Kanye it's Jeff Basker, and I can't stress that enough for everybody. Jeff is that sound. Jeff is that change in direction for me. You know, like I'm not behind the scenes on those records, but I can tell you that like I heard something really different, and I heard something really different on Dark Twisted Fantasy, and it was just this like evolution of this. To me, like I don't like to throw around genius, but Jeff is a true like master of his craft. I mean, he really understands notes and their relationship, and he'll never play the same thing twice unless he wants to, you know?
How long does it take for you to feel comfortable to get vulnerable in front of people like this that you haven't worked with before, but are also, I'm assuming he's been on the list of people you've wanted to work with for a while.
It takes about 6 years. So, yeah, Jeff has always been on the list, like since 808s. It was like, how do we work with this person? His story about finding us is really funny because I remember showing up at his house, like, we have this massive song. And I'm like, oh my God, we finally get to talk to everybody we've ever wanted to talk to, like to work with. I love collaboration. I love being in the room with super creative people. We showed up at Jeff's house with our guitars. We're like ready to go. Like all of our sessions, they've been sessions. You show up with a producer and you try and write a song and you see if this is going to work. Jeff was the one producer that we rolled up to with our guitars and everything. And Jeff opens the door and he goes, we're not writing today. I'm meeting you to see if I want to work with you, if I want to work with you. And I mean, that really broke the ice right away. Because to me, I'm like, thank God, it takes me forever to feel comfortable in the room with people. And that alone made me feel comfortable.
It's humbling in a weird way, but also like, yeah.
Yeah, cool. You got a big song.
Yeah.
Rows of Grammys.
Yeah.
I got one.
I'm looking at his writing credits. It's insane.
He's nuts,
He
dude.
did like Jay-Z. He did Bruno Mars album. He did Harry Styles album.
Yeah.
Wow.
You should hear him sing like Beyonce tracks. Like that dude is
Better than Beyonce.
Yeah, I would argue he has this thing that's like it is so rare. I've only met a handful of people that have this in music. I mean, a lot of rappers like have and singers have like pocket. They have their like the again relationship of like rhythm against the beat. And where you land, where your pocket is. Jeff is an anomaly when it comes to, I'm gonna sing that a little bit late, and he will do it, but perfectly. You know, he has this really great relationship with rhythm, and it's fully unique. I cannot think of many people that I've seen do that stuff. Danger Mouse is one of them. Really great at like knowing where things land on the beat. Asa Taccone is really good at it. But yeah, I think it's like probably in those three people that I've really hung out with that really kind of understand the relationship of where things are landing against that beat.
How long does it take you to want to make music again after Feel It Still, or at least release? I mean, it's taken a long time. This is the first album in 6 years. Like, what I mean, is there something that forces your hand, or I mean, life, I guess.
Yeah, and well, I wanted to make music right away.
Really?
Yeah, so I'll give you like the promo period for Feel It So was
Long time.
It was super intense. I mean, it was a crossover song. So you're waking up in the morning and you're doing pop or like morning radio stuff. So you're like, these are like the 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. folks. You go from that to alternative. And then you do an alternative like 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you go to the venue and you're doing meet and greet, sound check party, and multiples. So you'd be doing it for pop radio, like multiple stations. It's not a sound check. This is like a 2-song performance for different stations each time. All come in, you do your meet and greet, play your show, and then you do a meet and greet after the show. And then you head to the airport and you fly to next city or drive to the next city.
And do it again.
Do it again. Every single day. We did like 58 days straight of this. And the last show is in Alaska. We have 2 shows. And we play these 3 shows. We get through it. Remember the very last night we took our end of tour photo? The second that flash went off, I was bawling. And it was just introvert shoved into this moment and just going, yo, I'm Alaskan. I have a like pretty solid work ethic. And wherever you tell me to be, I'm going to be there. If I'm on tour, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it nonstop. But I cried all night until everybody was out of the venue. I just sat in the bathroom and I just could not control it. I couldn't stop crying. Like, it was a really intense period, but it made me want to make music. And that's when we started going out. We were talking to people about, I want to make something like meaningful, and I want to make something that's more like these emotions that I'm feeling right now. So the initial stuff that we started with Basker was, it was kind of like this synth-driven punk record. It was just harder. It was really like in your face, and it just, as it was coming together, I started having these different pains. Like I had this like severe like back issue. I did gymnastics for 10 years growing up, and I think it's caused a lot of like issues growing up. But yeah, I was going through all this like really intense pain. I started having these like jaw issues, and just one night I was back home in Alaska, and they've said it's like TMJ or something.
Yeah, I heard. I was briefed on this. Your jaw got like pointy, right? You almost weren't able to sing.
Oh, I couldn't sing. So what had happened was they told me it's TMJ. They're like, oh, your jaw's locking up. That's a TMJ thing. They're like, oh, you massage it like this. They show me how to like handle it when it locks. I was back home. We're doing this conference in Alaska. And one night my jaw locks up. And this is 2019. My jaw locks up. And I'm massaging it. I'm trying to get this to pop back in. And I hear this snap. And crazy pain. It's like this, like I got electrocuted.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting there like my jaw is, I'm in pretty intense pain. And a couple of days later, I mean, we're Alaskans, so we're still kind of like, we rally through things. Go, well, I have this conference. I got to like finish up this thing. Go to the doctor a couple of days later.
What?
And
Couple days?
Yeah, and they x-ray it, and the doctor says, so when did you break your jaw? I go, well, it was 2 days ago. And I heard the pop. He says, no, before that, when did you break your jaw? And I have no idea what you're talking about, doc. He says, yeah, well, the left side of your jaw has been ground down. Like the left side of my jaw is like, it's a third of the size that it's supposed to be. And it's just this crazy point. And this is years and years of singing on a broken jaw. And again, like Alaskan kids, we were just looking for the biggest thing you could jump off of, or like whatever you're going to fight over today. Like that's what we did growing up. Like that was like everything was going pretty hard. And at some point I had broken my jaw and sung through it for years and years, and it just built up all this pressure, and that's what happened in 2019.
But also, like, what? Like, also, the body's crazy that it took that long for it to like really like you just power through for not like days, not like years.
Yeah.
Like you just adapted.
Yeah, which I guess is that's another fascinating thing about the human body.
It's crazy.
I mean, you're totally right.
Like, what?
I mean, dude, like after I broke my jaw, I had this hunk of resin that I would hold in my teeth, and I couldn't really talk. I could barely talk. I still performed. We still had 2 or 3 shows before everything shut down. We went out and did that, and thank God everything shut down, because there's no way I would have stopped. I would have been like, well, we got a show next week, so I got to go do that. But yeah, we went through all the pain and everything. But during this period, I started breaking teeth. Like I split teeth.
Holy shit.
During that, just from the pressure that had built up. But because of all this pain over the years, I couldn't even tell that anything was broken. I remember when my dentist pulled out the dental surgeon pulled out one of the teeth, and he was like, could you feel that? And I couldn't feel it. I thought I had COVID for like 2 weeks. I was like puking and sweating
Brother.
and calling tests to the house like every few days. I was like, I definitely have COVID. They would come and test me, and you don't have COVID, like whatever.
No, you just have like a bunch of broken teeth and a bunch of money wasted on COVID tests.
Exactly.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean,
that's wild.
yeah, that's how much pain you end up being in.
I say that with peace and love. How do they fix it?
So the whole thing was building up towards this really invasive, brutal surgery.
Oof.
So that's what I had this hunk of resin. I held it in my mouth for a year and a half. It feels like so long. Like looking back at this thing, it is so crooked, just like matching up with my jaw. Holding it in my mouth just to stabilize everything and not break any more teeth and not have any more breaks. So I do that. We build up to the point where I actually performed a few of these songs. I think Anxiety, Plastic Island, and Summer of Love, like as soon as I could sing again, as soon as my jaw was stabilized enough,
Yeah.
I sang those songs. And you can hear it when you listen to that record, but I'm like singing through my teeth.
It's your through the wire moment.
This is, exactly. That's all I could think about too. Like, Kanye, thank you for giving me a... Yeah, it was. I'm singing through my teeth, trying to just get out all these emotions. Like so much emotion it built up over this year and a half. I mean, we're going through so much. And yeah, I'm gonna have to get this surgery that they remove the mandibles. The way it was described to me is they essentially take your jaw off and they remove the mandibles.
You haven't done any of this, so your jaw is still.
I didn't do any of it. You know what fixed it, or
What?
what has fixed it right now, is Invisalign.
Oh, interesting.
As if anybody from Invisalign is watching, I am here. I want to be your spokesperson. I will talk about the benefits of your product. It has slowly. I mean, I've been doing it for a year and a half now, so it's been 3 years since the break. I've been using this, and it's slowly been pulling everything back into place, at least stabilizing it.
Oh, wow.
And it's been a really, really intense process, but so much better than the surgery. I remember going in, like them talking to me about it and saying, my surgeon said, "Can you talk?" "Yeah, I can talk now." "Can you sing?" "Yeah, I can kind of sing." I mean, it's not like it was, I can't sing as loud as I did. And he was kind of like, "I think you'll get there. You don't want to do this surgery because it is like you go in and when they cut this, you don't know what nerves are back here. Like I could lose
No, don't
control of my vocal cords. Like you can lose like all kinds of like nerves can get cut. So yeah, I'm thankful that we went through that whole process.
How'd you find Invisalign? Like, what? How is that the answer?
Yo, my surgeon was just like, "I think you should do this," and it has worked. I mean, it kind of blows my mind because I have the trays. I have my old trays that you can look at and see like how crooked it was and how it's slowly been pulling it somewhat straight.
Well, congratulations. And you get straight teeth out of the deal, and a better jaw, and you can sing, and you can eat Taco Bell.
Exactly.
What do you get at Taco Bell?
Do you want my old order? What I used to get?
What do you? Yeah, but
Yo, I'm gonna say that I started out with the rice and beans because that's what I could afford. I had $1. I remember it was like 49 cents. It was so cheap for the rice and beans. I do a Mexican pizza with steak, Alaskan, or I do just a bean Mexican pizza.
traditional. That's good.
Is that traditional?
I don't know. I mean, not really, but like the steak is an interesting add-on there.
Yeah, that's my little twist.
That's good.
I've done a lot of Taco Bell. I have my own twist on things.
I like that. And that's like mine is very intricate. I'm very like I get cheesy or gordita crunches, but like I'll do light lettuce, and then I want like sometimes I'll add like a little rice in there. And then, like I'll get a quesadilla and add rice to it. Try a Mexican pizza with the potatoes on top.
Dang, dude.
It'll change everything.
You know what though? I don't like potatoes.
Oh, okay. So
All right.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
But you know what? You made me think that I might like rice
Ah,
on that Mexican pizza.
That.
Making an enchilada.
Brother, yes.
We got this.
The rice really bonds so much together, and it acts as just, I don't know, like a friend to all.
It does. It does.
It's really good.
We should go to Taco Bell together.
I would love that.
Find some time tonight?
Yeah.
Are you busy?
Yeah, no. You know what I have? Maybe you have one. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. But I have a purple card.
What?
What?
No,
I don't want to brag, but it's like, no, it's easily the coolest thing about me by far. Like yeah.
Do you have it on you?
I don't have it on me.
Wow.
Well, but here's the trick.
Does it have your name on it?
Yes. And it links to my Taco Bell account, which is on my app, so I can even use it for delivery. It's really great. You have no idea. I've made a lot of local Taco Bells very happy at like 3 a.m. getting Taco Bell for all my drunk friends. Like literally, I'll have like the DoorDash guy will come and he'll be like, "You just made a lot of people really happy. You just like really threw down business." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's the purple card.
Got to support the community.
It's the economy, baby. It starts at the purple
You know
card.
how this works.
I mean, yeah. But so what I'm saying is, I can pay. It's
Yo,
on me.
this is my sauce too.
Fire. Yeah, good taste. Have you tried it? They had truff sauce available for a minute there, and they were adding it. So you can add it to anything. It was really a game changer. Really different. Elevated the experience. But nothing hits like fire.
Fire's the one.
It is.
That's one for me.
Diablo like scares me sometimes.
Too spicy?
It's not that it's too spicy. There's like a different hint of flavor there that just throws me off. It's just not for me. Like we just don't get along. It's fine.
Yo, I have a family spice that I can bring with me.
Oh,
It's pretty spicy though.
I like that you're gonna bring your own accoutrements to the local Taco Bell. Like
It's a family spice.
it's a family tradition that I'm adding to my to my Crunch Wrap. By the way, you got to listen to the album. You really should listen to Chris Black Changed My Life, because he changed your life, and this music could have a definite impact on yours. We're gonna put a link in the description below, so check it out down there. What are you thinking?
Is Portugal the Man like a rock group that runs like a rap group? Kind of feels like that.
Whoa. How do rap groups
Well,
run?
you got a hype man. You got an album full of features. It seems like you work with some hip hop producers.
Yeah, for sure. It is more of like a collective. I get a mob, if you will.
Yeah, you're like the ASAP mob.
Yeah, it
Portugal
is
the
a
mob.
mob.
Portugal the mob.
Yeah, Portugal the mob. It still has the same acronym. That's essentially what it is. I mean, it's funny because like I don't know. Like I go into the studio with a lot of different people, but I have had friends come into the studio and be like, "Why is this like a hip hop session?"
That's what it
feels
feels
like a
like,
hip hop
yeah.
session because we just have friends come in and there's no like rules to anything. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, being in a rock session terrifies me. That sounds like the worst time ever. Like, hey, guitarist, do you have an idea for the guitar because you have to play the guitar right now? Is like, what if he doesn't? And is he going to be mad if I play the guitar right now because I do have an idea as the keyboard player? Like that is my nightmare. I mean, even starting this band. So when we started this band, the whole thing was like, I don't want to make the same record twice. I don't want to be stuck in that, like, rock bands when they have one song. I feel like you got to write that song so many times. And just the fear of like, yo, do I have to write that song again?
But I'm sure people were telling you to do that.
If I could do it, I would.
Yeah.
So also not the brains to do that either. Like, how do I dissect this and do it in a different way? Yeah, it's funny. We had people come into the studio with us too and like try to rewrite that song, and I'd be like, the song already exists.
Yeah.
Like, and it's already good. So you don't like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna make it better. I mean, it might make people money, sure, but I think it's about, again, it's that thing floating by that you can't really control. And it's those memories, like the way they come out is the way that stuff works. And make it sound good.
Are you grateful that you ended up scrapping Gloomin' and Doomin'?
Yes.
Because it brings you Woodstock, which changes your life.
Yeah, you know what? Again, honesty and all this stuff. Gloom and Doom was nowhere near ready to come out. The things that I miss about that record are Mac Miller is on that record, you know, and people have asked me to put out some of those songs, and I'm just, he can't clear it. Like, I can't. We had so much fun together. I had so much fun working with that dude. I mean, one of my favorite people in the world. And also a person that when I first ran into Malcolm, I said, I don't think I can handle that guy. But after the very first time we hung out, oh my God, I think I'm literally like in love with this person. Like, I will marry you right now. Like, let's run away. Let's go somewhere, you know, start a family. He is, I mean, one of the all-time greatest artists I've ever been around. I've never seen anybody like him.
I agree with that.
So that's the thing that I really regret, is we had so many great songs with Mike D, Mac Miller, and Danger Mouse, and all of this really cool stuff going, that it wasn't right in that moment. And I do fully believe in that stuff. I believe that it didn't happen for a reason. And but I can say that I really miss that dude. He was so much fun. I mean, we were working at his house, and just so fun. Play piano with that guy, play guitar with him.
No, incredibly special.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How many unreleased songs do you guys have?
Hundreds. There's probably so many songs that
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
will probably not come out. And I try to destroy those hard drives every now and then, just to make sure that there's no chance that somebody just like puts out some stuff without talking to anybody. And somebody's always got a backup somewhere, so I'm just formatting drives constantly, trying to figure out where it's all hidden. But yeah, it's all fun. I think as an introvert, as somebody who has anxiety and struggles with anxiety, I would say a lot of my holdup in the studio is, if I'm in the studio, I'm in my safe space, and nobody can touch me here. Everybody's waiting for me to put out a record, and they just want you to make stuff. Why would I want to stop making stuff so I can put it out and go stand in front of people? It's so much more fun for me being in the studio, making so much music with my friends. But it is the second I get it done and I go out on tour, I realize I connect so much more with fans of music. I love like being in the space with. I've never felt like an entertainer. Like, you never get on stage going, yeah, everybody's here for us. Can you believe it, guys? They're all here for us. Like, you never do that. Like, we're all here together. This is crazy. You know, I love being at festivals where, you know, Lil Nas X is the headliner, and you're just there to help everybody have a good time until they come on. Like, how cool. Like, what a cool thing to be a part of the night and just hyping people up for the next thing.
Music is special, man. I really appreciate your time and energy today.
I appreciate you.
I really, yeah, you're really pretty fucking cool. I also like that you feuded with Governor Sarah Palin. That's sick. You got your skate park.
Yo, easy. Easy.
You got it, right?
Fight. We're Alaskans, dude. We're looking for a fight.
So was she.
Who knows? Maybe we would have gotten along.
Do you know the history on this? You wanted a skate park, right? And she said you can do it if you get half the money. They'll match you, and you raise the money, and then she just ghosts you.
Yeah. And these kids, the kids that were showing up at City Hall were so perfect, because they're all like busted teeth from skating, like Chimo guns and like all the spots, mohawks, like Liberty spikes, and they're showing up. They're like, but Sarah, you promised. And like at the end of every City Hall meeting for a year, just trying to get that skate park built. And man, I gotta say, I respect all those kids so much for showing up, because it shaped the way I look at politics, and it really gave you some insight into like, oh, this is how the world works. Like, we're not on the list. Like, well, I think we're going to add ourselves to that list.
And by the way, it is a very unique example, like a microcosm of the larger picture of how power and the pendulum swings, right?
It is truly. I mean, we see it every single day. I mean, you got to get out there. So with our foundation, I mean, we always really try to stress it's community focused. Like you need to focus on your community. Like I can't do everything in Alabama. Like I got to focus on Alaska and Oregon. Like these are two spots I know really well, and I'm really close to the people there. Like y'all got to work on your communities, and showing up at that city hall meeting really does something, especially when you show up and raise a ruckus the entire time.
I think showing up in general is how change actually starts. It's having the courage to show up and the courage to speak out and step up. I mean, yeah, it's a skate park today, but like, what is it tomorrow? And also to those kids who took part in it, that's an amazing thing to be able to like fight for something and really request and demand change from power and actually see it through. Because it's inspiring. Like, it shouldn't stop at a skate park.
You're right. You're right.
Starts there.
We're all just kids trying to go to Taco Bell.
Amen. Thoughts?
Yeah, two things real quick. One, I feel like Grim Generation should be in some movie credits. How do you feel about that?
Wow. Yes.
Good.
Manifest it. Rub that log. If you knock that wood, it will come.
Where is it? Right here?
Yeah. Right there. Yes.
And two, is Feel It still the best song you've ever written, or is that just the most popular?
I like that question. Yeah, it's the best song we've ever written. Are you kidding? Like, yeah, it's the best. It's what we got, man. We went from 100 songs to one overnight, and I think that is the funniest thing that we've ever done. We're like, damn, I thought everything else was good.
Does it realign what you determine? Like, does it realign success for you though?
What do you mean? Like, does that set the bar? Like,
yeah, does it change the way you look at success and also achieve it? Like, because they can also make the case that that song was a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, I don't know. This band is never. Nobody cares. Like, nobody cares about anything in this band. It's like we care about like the people around us. Period. And it's great. Like I wake up every single day and I think about it. I walk outside my house. I traverse my estate. And I look up and I go, look at all we have. Like this song gave us everything. No, I wake up in a house, and that is so mind blowing to me. I think Zach is in a house, Eric's in a house, Jason's in a house. How cool! Like that song gave us all of that. And I mean, to seriously answer the question, these songs, like there's so much more to it than just. Like, you don't just, like, write a song like that and be like, it's going to be a hit. You know, you got to compete against superstars like Harry Styles. Like, yo, dude, that dude looks so good. Like, he can't make a bad song. Like, it really, like, I mean, you'll end up in marketing meetings sometimes where people talk about what Harry Styles is doing on socials and what works. And you go, what? Like, a Harry Styles? You mean the hottest dude in the world? Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it works. Like, you're competing against something that it really, like, I don't live in that world. I mean, one of like some of Mike D's like best advice he ever gave me. So like I got advice from a Beastie Boy when we were heading to the Grammys. Man, Beastie Boys always looked so cool. They were always so ready for that moment. Like, I have no idea what this is like. You've been doing this since you were 18. Like, what should we wear to the Grammys? I remember calling him and asking, like, what should we wear to the Grammys? And Mike is like, I think you should probably wear whatever you're comfortable in because it's not about you. Halsey is there. Remember, Halsey's going to be there. Like, she's going to be there, and it's about her. It's not about you. Like, just be comfortable. And I think that's some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my life is just make stuff that you like. Make good music, and that's really what it's about. Though I am really competitive, and yes, I would like to show up and have another Feel It Still one day.
But the universe will allow it to happen as long as you keep swinging.
We get some Taco Bell tonight. It could be written tonight.
Let's write it tonight at the local Taco Bell. God, that was beautiful. Please, Portugal the Man, everybody, listen to the new album. Link in the description below. Thanks for being here, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, big thanks to Taco Bell for making this whole thing possible. I love them very much. Cheers. No, really, they're the best. Oh, it's delicious. It always hits. Thanks for being here. Portugal the Man, everybody.
Woo.